which would benefit India. And again, as we said, we see India's rise as a net positive on its own. The other final point I would make on the Pathfinder projects is that there are going to be hurdles when we try to do defense trade. That's one of the reasons why it took a long time to get these Pathfinder projects off the ground. Something like 18 had been sort of proposed and didn't make the cut. And as I mentioned, there may be a stumbling block with the Raven. Fine. We have an expression in the United States, right? Tires are made out of rubber. There's a road. The rubber's got to hit the road. You got to get moving. So for us, the Pathfinder project, so the rubber's hitting the road. The only way we're going to be able to overcome these hurdles and figure out how to make the complicated aspects of defense trade and technology transfer work are to start doing it. Right? I can tell you as somebody who writes for a living, you'd like to think that you can plan everything out in advance, and then when you put pen to paper that it all goes smoothly. No plan survives first contact. Okay? You're going to have to think while you write. So this is particularly helpful. And that's why, again, broader macro perspective, those Pathfinder projects are very important. So let me just return to a couple of key points as I wrap up here and we get into sort of broader discussion. And again, I want to reemphasize, as if I haven't done so enough, the real genuine enthusiasm in the United States for the relationship, but temper that with the fact that, that there are, I think, ongoing questions about how much the United States should expect from India. We are trying to practice strategic patience and make sure that we don't try to push too hard too fast. As I'm talking with a lot of my Indian friends about this, and as one of them said to me, she said, "Stephen, you guys will get an agreement together, and you'll say, so that agreement took 6 months. God, that took forever." And we'll say, "Oh my God, we did that in 6 months. That's the fastest we've ever done an agreement." Right? So neither one of those is right. There's no right answer there. But there are different strategic cultures at play. And so I think from the US perspective, understanding sort of how far India wants to go, how fast, is especially critical. Because it helps us manage our own expectations, and it helps us zero in on the areas where we're going to be able to maximize collaboration. And that involves an evolving dialogue, and I'm thrilled to sort of be here to engage in that dialogue today. I'm going to stop there, and I look forward to questions and discussion. Thank you. Please.
See, there's a flip side of it also. Like, there's a lot of pressure group in America itself who are against a lot of job opportunities they are taking, America's job opportunities, resources, revenue. And it's also the vice versa, the Indians coming there, establishing their base in a kind of thing. How do you address it? This is one. I'll just finish it up my other two so you can comprehensively you can answer it. The change of political dispensation, if you feel like in the next election.
In 2016, yeah.
Yeah. So how do you visualize, anticipate the relationship?
So I would make that continuing to see the U.S.-India relationship progress. That's something that, very few things have bipartisan support. Obviously, the details may vary from administration to administration, and I think that goes to your second point, or your second question, right, which is the fact that there are some pressure groups, who are concerned about offshore, jobs leaving. On the defense and security side, I think everybody's going to see more or less eye to eye. That's an issue, and you're absolutely right, and there's no easy way to address that, but I think head on, which is to say, anybody who believes that the days when you could keep jobs. Former President Clinton, when he ran for office in 1992, so we're talking over 20 years ago now, when globalization was really just starting to become a thing, gave a speech up in New Hampshire, which is where we hold our first Democratic primary, so this was a big deal state. And and New Hampshire was a place where a lot of manufacturing jobs and others had left, and people were hurting for that reason. And he said, I'm not going to lie to you. Those jobs are not coming back. There's nothing I can do to make those jobs come back. We live in a global economy. And the only way to grow our economy is to be part of the global economy. So what I can tell you is that I commit to lifelong job retraining and opportunities to get other types of jobs, but I'm not going to tell you years are coming back. And I think that's sort of the conversation that we in the United States need to continue to have, and need to continue to understand that there's no way that we can shut ourselves off. We can keep jobs at home by trying to be more competitive, but that's it. And ultimately, we need to accept that some jobs are going to go overseas, but that other benefits are going to accrue from that. That is a sophisticated argument, and things in politics are often not sophisticated. So I think you'll see a lot of beating of the national drum, as it were, during campaign season, and then afterwards, people will act a little bit more like grown-ups again.
Indian diaspora, the rise of Indian diaspora, which you spoke. One is on Indian diaspora, I would let you know, because you mentioned in your talk. Ambassador, US Ambassador in India is also Richard Roma, the Indian origin. And that's number one. And can it be comparable to American Israel Public Affairs Committee, IPAC, the small but the most powerful lobbyist organization in the United States, the Jewish organization? That's one. And one thing I'm eager to know is, how does US or the think tankers in the Washington DC, let's stick to think tankers in the Washington DC, how did they react to BRICS? Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa coming together. That's a separate, let's say, a multilateral engagement in this part of the world. That's one thing. And we're also interested and eager to know, the United States of America has been giving so far had given billions of dollars to Pakistan to fight out terrorism, the war on terror. But at the same time, US doesn't have any complete say or control on what's happening in the internal affairs of Pakistan, which has a rippling effect, which is actually threatening the national security of India, because certain jihadi groups in Pakistan are using the same funding money that is coming from the United States to create a havoc for India's national security.
Yeah, they're using it to create havoc for the United States national security as well.
As well, you're right. But we are concerned because it's our neighbor. More back is on diaspora.
Yeah.
And then is IPEC, helping the Indian diaspora there to sort of strategize. And the second one is this.
Yeah.
You can even comment on BRICS. Yeah.
So let me just take the BRICS very quickly in a perspective, but it wasn't. I didn't see it making a particularly large ripple. On the diaspora, APAC is its own animal. I don't necessarily know that that type of mechanism is replicable. So you don't ex-lobbying position. I understand the diaspora lobbying position. I understand all of these things, and I understand why people have those different pressure groups. I'm heartened to see, by the way, there's an organization called J Street, which is another lobbying organization that works on Israel, Jewish issues, that is more left of center. It's a free country. You can say what you like. At the end of the day, I'm an American and I vote based on U.S. interests, not Israeli interests or Indian interests or anything else. So, yeah. But that said, do I think that the Indian diaspora has done pretty well in terms of organizing itself? Yeah, I do. And I would point out we have evidence of this. All right. Richard Holbrooke, when he became the Secretary's representative for Afghanistan and Pakistan, he was supposed to be the Secretary's representative for Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. And the first thing that Richard Holbrooke said was, I think that we've solved Afghanistan through Kashmir. And the Indian lobby in Washington went nuts, understandably, from their perspective. And suddenly Richard Holbrooke was no longer SRAP for Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. His area of operation shrank. Okay, so that was really, in many instances, I think, at least for me, watching, the first real instance when I saw the Indian lobby throw its weight around successfully, right? I mean, that was, I think, a watershed moment. So I think, it may not be APAC, but it's got some muscle. Here's what I believe about the U.S. relationship with Pakistan. You're not wrong. We're giving them, billions. Some of those billions are being used to support militants who kill citizens from your country, and as I alluded to, quite frankly, some of those billions are being used to support militants who kill people from my country. That's incredibly problematic. Here's what the United States sees itself as getting for its money. Some CT cooperation against Al-Qaeda, access to Afghanistan, which has been very important, right? I mean, we've kind of had to pay for access to Afghanistan. That's going to begin changing. That I was alluding to, some of that comes in the form of what's called security assistance. So that's us giving the Pakistanis helicopters or bullet-resistant vests or whatever. But we also give them, on average, $1.2 billion a year in what are called reimbursements for their operations in the federally administered tribal areas. That's part of a program called Coalition Support Funds. U.S. Congress put in a number of conditions on CSF. And every time the Secretary of Defense waived those conditions, and we gave them all the money. And now, Congress has put in, we should be looking at this based on sort of three principles. One, we need to reaffirm what the value and what the limits of that relationship are. And I think that when we look at it, we recognize that there are real limitations, and especially as we draw down from Afghanistan, the value is going to decrease. That's number one. Number two, we need to right-size the relationship, which means reducing the amount of security assistance we provide, scoping it perhaps even more narrowly along CT lines, rather than dual-use technologies. Reducing and ultimately getting rid of CSF entirely. Pakistan has said they want a normalized relationship with the United States. Normalized defense relationships do not entail one party paying the other party $1 billion to do, quite frankly, what I think Pakistan would do anyway, which is keep all their people in the FATA for the next couple of years. They've said publicly, if CSF ended tomorrow, we'd keep all our people in FATA. So, okay, I think we can start phasing this out. And then number three, and by the way, right-sizing also means reducing our footprint in Pakistan. We have a large security cooperation office. We can shrink that. Number three, we need to regionalize the relationship. And by that I mean we need to focus more on groups that are a threat to regional stability. A large-scale terrorist attack by a group like Austria-Thailand. So we're very much aware that these issues have consequences for us as well. And as Al-Qaeda has declined, and as we've drawn down from Afghanistan, I think there's space to look more, from a regional perspective in terms of how we engage. So it's not going to end, but that's at least what I advocate in terms of how we look at the relationship going forward.
So globally, there's been a growing relationship, there's been a growing friendship between Pakistan and China. So how strategically can you say that US can maintain its relationship with Pakistan? Just before you said that once we get through the Pakistan and Indian relationship, we can reduce the terrorism. But China and Pakistan are developing their friendship. So how can you maintain that relationship with Pakistan?
So India maintains a relationship with China. That's number one. So why should right? So we're going to maintain a relationship with Pakistan because it's about the China-Pakistan relationship. I would make a couple points on that. First, I would point out that this relationship goes back, several decades. It's also a relationship that is built primarily around balancing against India. I don't think anybody makes any secret of that. Pakistan and China are not natural allies, right? You've got an atheist communist, at least in name, but increasingly just authoritarian country allied with the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. These are not natural allies. This is centered around balancing against India. The second point I would make is that China doesn't really have to invest a whole lot in Pakistan. They can just sort of sit back and watch this go on. The third point that I would make is China is increasingly concerned about the same things that the rest of us are concerned about with Pakistan, and that's terrorism. Because China is concerned about stability in Xinjiang province and Uyghur militants coming not only out of Afghanistan, but also out of federally administered tribal areas. And they have publicly expressed their displeasure with Pakistan on several occasions. Do I think that means that China is going to cut Pakistan loose? No, but I do think it means that what we should continue to do is to engage China to try to get it to pressure Pakistan where possible, including to keep Lashkar-e-Taiba reined in so it doesn't do a large attack, things of that nature. How can we maintain our relationship with Pakistan?